It's no longer really an opportunity or choice, it's an imperative. To telling the story, how do we make sure that we're taking full advantage of any and all assets that are on the grid and at customer premises.
Welcome, everyone, to the ei360 podcast. David, we are continuing our discussion on digital twins this month. We've had the opportunity to visit our Digital Operations Center here at our headquarters in McKinney. And last week, we talked with experts on the physical assets and how we connect those with the grid interactive controller. And today, we are so excited to have a guest join us, truly an expert. And this is David. Can you tell us a little bit about Lynn Pausic, and co-founder and a member of the executive team at Expero?
Well, thank you, Sandi, for that introduction. And Lynn, great to have you on our podcast today. And as our audience knows, one of the things that, or the subject matter for this month has really been about digital twins. And at the heart of that, digital twin capability is all about data. When we started this journey several years ago, one of the important aspects to us has always been to try to have the domain expertise that allows us to provide our clients the best in class. I want to say, Lynn, to you today, we believe that, Expero has brought us tools, technologies, domain knowledge in this area of digital twin, graph technology, and a number of other basically tools and technologies that make up our engine, if you will. And it's been a pleasure to work with the Expero team. They really are a part of NX. We talk about the fact that we're really kind of one and the same to a large degree. We work with some great developers, great team of people. I want to do a shout out to Ted Wellmus, who's kind of our lead architect that works with Lynn. And Lane can speak to some of the team members and just the expertise they bring. But I think what's made this relationship and really accelerated NX's capability has been both bringing together that domain knowledge and really years of experience in the energy sector, because Expero brings a significant amount of experience in that sector as well, but also the domain knowledge of NX and how we can bring that together. Because a key element, as we all know, about data and about digital twins is we're really creating the DNA of the physical, a representation of the physical. In this case, for NX, it's about energy, and it's about the grid, it's about distributed energy, it's about smart buildings, it's about EV charging. So how do we create a digital twin representation of those various embodiments? And create the analogous relationships between those embodiments. And when I use the word embodiments, I'm talking about all the way from generation to transmission to distribution to the meter point to the loads beyond the meter point. And I know, Lynn, we spend a lot of time talking about this. As a matter of fact, we spend a great deal of time anymore. We meet quite consistently about just how we're doing this on behalf of our clients. And so, Lynn, one of the things I'd like to jump into to get your, just really expertise and your insights into is just the importance of what we call data modeling, which really is that data fusion aspect, and how important that is to creating that digital representation of that entire environment, such as what we're talking about here on the grid. And then really a second question, Lynn, as a follow-on, and so I won't interrupt you and just let you follow on to the first question, is what's the impact of that? A lot of talk about digital twins, machine learning, artificial intelligence, generative technologies. And I think for us as a collective group, as we move into the marketplace, yes, we want to do this, and it's really exciting to see some of this come together. But I think what our audience probably would love to hear more than anything is, but what does it mean? What's the output of this? What's the solutions that this brings to the market? What does it enable? And I'm just going to share one last thing, Lynn, and then I'll stop. What excites me so much is that second piece about bringing meaningful solutions in an environment today where we're seeing many people think that we're stepping back in time, that affordability and reliability are at stake when we think about the energy sector. I'm excited because I'm going to make a bold statement. I think that what we're doing in regards to the digital twin and now our patent is game changing in terms of bringing back, in large part, affordability and reliability. And so, with that, I set the stage, Lynn, hopefully for you to give everybody these big, not just concepts, but big solutions that we believe we bring together.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me today because, as you know, we all really love talking about about what we're doing here because it's what we're doing together is so transformational and always excited to talk about that and doubly excited because it's Digital Twin Month and digital twins have been around for quite some time actually, and the way that ENX is leveraging digital twins in the market, it's just very impactful, very important. So I gotta kind of try to go in the order here that you asked a lot of great questions, David. First off, when we talk about digital twins at ENX, and if you look at some of the previous podcasts, because it is Digital Twin Month, you'll hear about different aspects and things that contribute to the digital twin. When we are building a digital twin, sometimes digital twins are synonymous with just IoT, so sensors, and that was kind of when you think of wind turbines back in the day when the notion of digital twin first came online for a wind turbine, right? It was all about, ooh, there's a few sensors, right? Well, yes, and so of course we're bringing additional intelligence. We're bringing intelligence to the grid in places where we're increasing visibility like never before, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But our digital twins are so much more and just sensors for those of you that are familiar somewhat with, sort of the canonical version of digital twins. We are bringing in not only intelligence, but interoperability across all of your systems, really everything. So that if you're a co-op or a utility, that could be your service area. If you are in the commercial side of things, that could be, looking at your business or your customers. As David was mentioning, a better way to run that, a more optimal way to run it, a more green way to run it, right? So our digital twins, as far as the data and the modeling, really in essence, anything that you need to make decisions about how to everything from keeping the power on to running your business in a more optimal way or more green way, you can leverage our digital twin for that. So we have information, for example, coming in, as I mentioned, there's lots of different examples of kind of unique things that we're doing with sensors. So for example, sensor data where we're able to give visibility to micro weather conditions on the ground. And we'll talk about that in a minute, a little bit more about some of our solutions that can help inform decisions about what's happening and if we need to be concerned about risk on the ground or fire danger or outages or things like that. We have sensors that are monitoring assets, and so that you can see the health of your assets, the resilience of your critical loads and those critical assets. So there's a whole, and I could go on and on, but I've been told we have about 10 or 15 minutes for this podcast. So it's separate. We've got a nice layer here of intelligence. We have information coming in from other systems like SCADA, like OMS systems, and BMS systems. We are agnostic. We have hardware that's agnostic. We can come in and leverage what you have, but rather than it being siloed like it is today, we bring it together, right? So you're getting that sort of nice homogeneous view of everything, right? And you'll hear us talk a lot about orchestration of that information and the interoperability. Another thing I want to highlight in our models is our ability to share data and do that in a way that is governed and is secure. And so that could be sharing within your organization. It could be sharing across to your customers. It could be sharing between customers. So we have a very flexible model as well as far as what we're doing. And our data models can be leveraged. Our goal is to be cloud agnostic. We're well on our way, to doing that, and offering, private clouds and other solutions where sometimes people get their data. If you've ever, there are some platforms that shall remain nameless that tend to take the data data and keep the data. The data is our customers' data, right?
Right.
And so we want to make sure that they can access it. And so our data models and our digital twins, reside in the cloud and work in whatever capacity, in terms of sort of the infrastructure of that, if you will. Um, so let's talk. So that's some about our models. And David, please feel free to jump in.
Well, one, let me just say this. One, everyone can see, just really love the knowledge and the capability that you bring. Let me just prompt a kind of a second part of this discussion by saying you brought up the word interoperability. Well, you brought up a number of really, I think, key statements, key phrases, but one that we all talk about, and it's been really hindering the market, and not just the energy market, but I'm sure across all sectors. It's just this interoperability. You talk about sharing data. And for me, I think the thing I would really want our audience to hear us talk a little bit about, maybe that you could expand on. And by the way, we'll give you all the time you want. Our audience would, I'm sure, love to hear more from you. But it's just, we talk about this case model that NX believes in, and it's kind of that journey that we help our clients with. Connect data. How do we use the digital twin to accelerate the journey? How do we then scale? You spoke a lot about that, on how this allows you to scale. And then the thing, when you mentioned interoperability and sharing data, the word that, the last word of case is empowerment. Just how empowering, ultimately, not just the digital twin, but, this platform, this single view platform, this agnostic platform, this platform that's focused on data and how to monetize data. Lynn, I've heard the statement said that, data is the new gold, and no, it's fool's gold. It's insights that's the gold. And we know that, we understand that. And that insight means, can we empower people to become even prosumers where they've always been consumers? So if you could just kind of speak to that empowerment component, and how we believe a lot of what we're doing together is about empowering people in a way that we've never seen that before.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you brought that up. I probably would have gotten to it eventually, but let's get to the chase. So, empowerment's a very strong word already. I would go so far as to say what we're doing is vital. The world is changing. The grid is changing. Without not just a digital twin, but a digital twin that is enriched and interoperable, as we're talking about, and can scale, and all the data is connected. Without that, in the not too distant future, it's going to become difficult to even kind of operate. If you can, it's going to be very expensive, because you're not going to have the right visibility and the right insights, as you point out, David, in order to continue as you were. It's going to get expensive real fast. And a big reason for this, is most of you listening to this might already be aware, is what's coming. The grid is changing. We are not any longer going to have just traditional generation and distribution, right? We need to be able to move power bidirectionally. We need to understand where power exists, right? Where we can go in and grab those electrons if our demand is exceeding our load and we need to fight 8 megawatts fast. We need to have that visibility, that connectivity, that empowerment that you're talking about, David, to be able to spot where that load exists. And then further, you start to talk about things like machine learning and other intelligence, another layer of, okay, we found some, but what's the most optimal, right? Where do we want to draw that? Maybe we want to optimize for line loss and voltage drops. So we want to pick some distributed energy resources that are near something that needs to be addressed in terms of demand. Maybe we want to optimize for green, ESG and carbon footprint, right? Maybe we want to optimize on price, right? And there are so many different ways that you can really get this. There's a reason why it's called Energy 360, right? It is that 360. Not just the insights, but I like to think of it as kind of a 360 on the insights of, okay, I've got these insights. Now what do I want to optimize for, right? So we talk about energy optimized a lot in an exchange, right? And the big value prop there. That is, one of the key things that we can do with our digital twin, and then applying you know, as we often talk about, machine learning, or they're various algorithms. I'll spare the tech talk today, but all of the different capabilities at hand to be able to really leverage the digital twin to be able to figure out how to have that impact and really empower our customers to do that. So this also doesn't need to be something that's done anymore once a year, or 3 to 5 year planning. You want
Yeah.
to do daily planning, you want to do weekly planning, you're empowered to do that, right?
Hmm.
You mentioned a few minutes ago talking about how we accelerate and how we kind of apply some different solutions. I mean, a great example in this context, obviously, is being able to simulate, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
say, what can I do if I want to optimize in this way? I want to make sure I am resilient, right?
Hmm.
And now we can go and simulate. We had an anecdote. Hopefully it's okay. Sandy will edit this out if it's not okay. But for example, we heard an anecdote. And in a meeting not too long ago, of a group that, in order to determine where the weak spots are in an outage, they literally have to turn the power off. And they have this exercise, I can't remember, David, it's every 6 months or so, where they shut down the power to be able to physically simulate. You don't have to do that if you have a digital twin and you have these simulation capabilities, right? You can simulate every day without anybody having to endure a planned power outage, right?